I'm gonna pull up a let's see. Let me delete some. Let me pull up a one-on-one questionnaire. Moorish man. Yeah. Yeah, I always like the Library of Congress one. Yeah, it's okay. I'm trying to move this one out the way, but all right, we'll just deal with it. I might have to go back. I think it's too far yet. Okay. All right. So Islam. Last time we had spoken, we had went into um, questionnaire. We went over, um, I believe, the flag, Friday, um, parting out of flesh. I wanted to backtrack a little bit, dealing with question 27, uh, key 27, yeah, question 27, 28, and 29. So we get an understanding, a reference of what those are and what does that mean. I'm gonna open my screen a little bit so y'all can see. Excuse the scruff. Always trying to grow my beard out, but it don't work. Um, so look up here. All right. All right. So let's look at 27, and it says, "Will you give a brief line genealogy to which Jesus came?" Now we understood that line is very important. A line actually, when you draw a line, like anytime it says you're in a conversation And someone's stepping their boundaries, or they just, you got to draw the line. I got this. This is where I drew the line. Right? A line defines things. It makes things distinct. You know what I'm saying? You distinguish everything from a line. Like you make it direct. You home in on things with a line. If you don't have a line, it becomes very confusing. Islam. You say it again. You don't have a line, things become very confusing.
Islam.
So you have to draw a line in order to distinguish particular things. So some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz, Baruch, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. Each and every one of them have a very distinguished role that they play. And there's a reason why Prophet singled these out without mentioning others. Because if you go into the book of Matthew and the book of Luke, you're going to see their genealogy. And there's a lot more people involved. A lot more people involved. But the prophet was distinguished when he was pointing out these individuals. So we talk about Abraham, or Ibrahim, right? What is Ibrahim? What is he known for? Does anyone know what he's known for?
He was the father of all the nations, you know,
Right.
of the line of Ishmael and the line of Israel.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Islam, he was he's the sheikh symbolically of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. That he was his inspiration, and there's a holy day, Eid al-Adha, among the Muslims of the Meccan tradition that's celebrated every year, where his son was spared, sacrificed by Allah. Peace.
What son was that?
The oldest, firstborn.
You remember his name?
Ishmael.
Ishmael. Was it Ishmael or Isaac?
There's controversy, but I've heard from trusted scholars that I trust that it was actually the firstborn son that would be considered the sacrifice, the biggest sacrifice to Allah. If you're going to sacrifice your son to Allah, you're going to make a huge sacrifice. You would sacrifice your firstborn son.
Right.
And that was Ishmael. But there's a lot of contention about that for whatever loophole reason, in this case, he was going to sacrifice his younger son. But that's what I've heard from pretty trustworthy sources, that it was, if there was going to be a sacrifice to Allah, it was going to be the firstborn.
What about, okay. All right, so it's been the firstborn, Ishmael. Ishmael was born of what? Of whom?
Hagar.
Hagar. And who was Hagar? Remember?
She was a Moabitess. She was a part of the capital empire of, the prophet called it capital empire. She was a servant of the capital empire in Egypt.
The capital empire.
Or the capital city of Egypt, you know.
Yeah, so Egypt, the capital empire of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So she was Egyptian. There's some other contingent thoughts about her name being a derivative of another one. So we don't know exactly. You know, we can put two and two together and try to guesstimate. But I would say this, your own point, definitely. And it shows the connection between the line of Israel and Egypt as well. Abraham was very important because one thing I want, you know, if anything, is that he brought the concept of one God, or the focus into one God. Okay. Um, his lifestyle, or his being, as you would say, or his way of life, or according to Allah that he lived, is what Prophet Muhammad wasallam focused on practicing. He wanted him and others. I know Sister Zafia, you wasn't here on Ramadan, and we talked about the four basically teachers of Prophet Muhammad wasallam, that he actually got the idea of monotheism, or Allah worship. These four were ones who practiced Islam before it actually got its stamp of understanding. So Prophet Muhammad was around these four. Some of these four were actually relatives of Prophet Muhammad, according to tradition, you know. So I see a comment. Oh, Islam, brother Lesson. So Abraham is very important because he fosters in the concept of one God, or worship of Allah. No, you didn't, bro. You kind of just getting started. So you see that this is a issue. This is a situation where, Abraham represents the pinnacle of the old world. He represents within Western world the one who brought forth the understanding of one God. Okay, even though the ancients already had. I hate it when does that. Okay, so Abraham represents that when he represents the understanding of one God, and how one God, is the focus and the one path that actually connects to that one God. This is what Abraham represents. Now the next character that we have in the line is Boaz. If I can share without my screen messing up and I'm dropping off, I hope it start acting out with me. Like I said, we're not going to be long more. Like I said, I'm actually okay. I'm on. This is a Jewish site, Jewish Encyclopedia, and here it says by Moorish Jastrow Jr. and B. Edmund and Marcus Jastrow and Louis Ginsburg. The biblical data: one of the relatives of Elimelech, husband of Naomi, right? Wealthy Judean, living in Bethlehem in Judah. You hear that? Bethlehem in Judah. Similar to where the references is in, or the internet connection is in. Okay. he was one of the kinsmen of Ruth. As such, he had the privilege of redeeming the family estate sold by Naomi. Listen to this. He had the privilege of redeeming the family estate sold to Naomi. No, sold by Naomi. Sorry, by Naomi after Elimelech's death. So Naomi had to sell the estate. The husband had passed, so it became hardship. Therefore, when Ruth appealed to his kinship, he redeemed the property. In consequence of this, he had to marry Ruth in order to raise up the names of the dead. Okay? You sell the estate, that means you're dead. Like you have no estate, you have no asset, basically you're dead. Okay? So Ruth comes into the play. When he gets with Ruth, he's given the idea to return the estate or regain the estate. Okay? So how does this tribute to Prophet Noble Drew? And he's bringing about our lost estate, our lost inheritance, our lost identity. He's reclaiming those things. Everything was buried in the shallow grave by those who basically buried this thing, right? Senator Henry Berry. Senator Henry Berry, right? What did he say? He said, we have cut off all the light that could possibly enter the mind of the Negro, right? Reduce them to, and I'm paraphrasing, reduce them to the level of the beast in the field. This is a senator, actual U.S. senator in the state of Virginia, who says this during the meeting. This is his actual words. We have reduced the Negro, you know what I'm saying? We cut off every light that could possibly enter the mind of the Negro, meaning knowledge. We reduce them to that of a beast of the field. So to make us a beast, to make us not human, he said they reduced us. So that means that we weren't beasts. We weren't at that level all the time. But we were of a higher level. Dang. What did I do with it? Did I put it back? No, I didn't put it back. Praise Allah. I'm gonna read y'all something. All right. Yeah, you can find it's in the if you guys have the modules, module 1 or module 2. I think module 2 is quoted in there. You quoted in there, so it's in there. So you gotta go over those modules. Okay. Always review your modules when you get a chance. Okay, this book is, you can always order this book. It's Abraham Lincoln's Philosophy of Common Sense. Okay, this is an old book, but they've redone it. They've re-edited it, revised it several times. But this is volume 2, part 2. Yeah, part 2, not volume 2, but part 2. And in this book, and not chapter, but page 510. Yeah, exactly. Constitution says right here. This is Abraham Lincoln is quoting Chief Justice Curtis, who also was involved in the Dred Scott case. And I just want to pull out one thing he said that got me really like tripping. I read it this morning, and I was like, well, I already missed that. He says, again, Chief Justice Taney says, it is difficult at this day to realize the state of public opinion in relation to the unfortunate race, talking about us, which prevail in civilized and enlightened portions of the world at the time of the Declaration of Independence. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Again, I'm going to read it again. Again, Chief Justice Taney said, this is Taney who was against us in that proceeding of Just Scott, right? It is difficult. This is Taney. Taney says, Taney's the one who says that there's nothing, there's no right, the Negro has no rights that the white man is bound to respect, right? That's him. He says Abraham Lincoln is quoting him in this passage on page 510 of this book. He says, again, Chief Justice Taney said, it is difficult at this day to realize the state of public opinion in relation to the unfortunate race, that's us, which prevailed in the civilized and enlightened portions of the world at the time of the Declaration of Independence and when the Constitution of the United States was framed and adopted. And again, I'm going on, and again, after quoting from the Declaration, he said, the general words above quoted were seen to include the whole human family, and if they were used in a similar instrument at this day, would be so misunderstood. So he's saying, and I had to put that up because we're talking about our people at the time when this was being framed, that they knew that we didn't always been a beast. We weren't always slaves. That we were very much contributors to the Enlightenment world. Even at the time of the Constitution and everything, we were very much in rulership and power in other parts of the world. And we were involved, but Chief Curtis was saying that, hey, we were also involved in the framing of the Constitution. We were there. We were there. So the estate, the added tie into this is that we lost our estate due to slavery. Okay, we were sold. We gave up our rights also through chasing after the European lifestyle, or after our lower styles, mainly after our lower styles. And the prophet came to bring it back. First, he had to put the light back into our mouth. And once we claim your nationality, once you proclaim your nationality, once you proclaim your nationality, you gain that lost estate. That doesn't mean land, but that means your rightful ownership as an American citizen. The land comes later. See, people want to put the cart before. Bailey Hill always said, he said this. He said, the Moors, a lot of Moors that's doing all that stuff, trying to take homes and all that. He said, the Moors, they putting the cart before the horse. Talk about, even Todd, all that. They putting the cart before the horse. Okay. That's all. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I think it's my internet connection acting up. There was a storm earlier, so let me check this. How it's holding. They said it's good, so I don't know what that's about. But what I was saying is that, Boaz had bought back the lost estate that was sold by Naomi. Okay. When he married Ruth. Prophet is connecting us to our ancestors. He's connecting us to the house of Moab, to Moabite, right? Because the Moabs actually have an estate. What are the Moabs in Acts? Who are we in Acts 6? We are descendants of the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Okay. And then you go into chapter 47, it expounds on the fact that we traversed over into the Americas more than one time. I was speaking to Sister Shakana. She was telling me about the Incas. And she said that, the Incas there was something called the Inca Moors, and it was some Moors that actually inhabited under, amongst the Incas. And I said, it's kind of funny because I didn't hear too much, about it. And I said, I know that Abu Bakari, Mansa Musa's older brother, he had went into, he traversed over into America, but they said he got lost. But she said no, they actually evidence found that he actually bought some land from the Incas and settled. So I'm waiting. She said she has some information. I know she's out and about and got some situation going on, but she's gonna she's gonna share that information with me, and I'm just gonna look through it. So, but that's deep because it's well accepted that Abu Bakr got lost and nobody knew what happened. But the story is crazy because how much stuff he was bringing with him and how many people he was bringing with him. Because if you're just exploring, you're not going to bring all that stuff with you. He must have the intentions of settling or establishing something. He must have knew Islam. So I don't want to go too far off. I know I've done. I just want to stay on course with the questionnaire. But we understand that, first of all, number one, as I mentioned one point, is that the genealogy, line and genealogy is very important. A line distinguishes everything. Okay, you draw a line, it means that you're trying to mark something. You're trying to make something distinct, bring a point, draw attention to something. You know what I mean? Where you can have a lot of things chaotic. You want to make sure, a line helps bring definition and clarity. So when you say a brief line, that means there's something clear. I'm giving you the line that connects something. Giving you a line that connects something. And then when they say a brief line regarding the Jesus genealogy, I mean, specifically, these people here have a purpose. They have a purpose. Of course, Jesse, he was given the next inheritance to be king. King David is the son, Solomon, son of King David. But each and one of them have a distinguished characteristics that we should all look into. So, Hezekiah is very important. Hezekiah is very important. You want to look up who Hezekiah is. Joseph is very important. I know, my bad, brother. I see you, everybody getting kicked off. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that, Morris. The internet connection kicking everybody off. Everybody getting kicked off, man. I'm sorry. Hold on a minute. Pause my screen real quick. Yeah, my fault, y'all. Yeah, we all back, bro. We all back. Shoot. Yes, sir, yes, sir. So the next question is, how long has it been? They said about 2,000 years ago. So we know that Jesus, the era of Jesus started, and they were saying first year of the Common Era, like CE, Common Era. Some say BC, AD. Some say AD is Latin. And for the year of our Lord, because the Roman Catholic Church took over the calendar, and they provided, but they installed the concept that this era is the era of Jesus because it marched their reign. So they're using Jesus as their pinnacle point of authority. So, but according to what the prophet's saying, he's saying that I just skipped one. I'm sorry about that. Going to 28. Go back to 28. I apologize. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nation of Europe who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. Okay, so when we look at Rome, now everyone can equate that in the Bible. You know that Rome was in charge of Palestine, occupying Palestine, right? And he says pale-skinned nations. So Rome was a government, and within it were several nations that made up Rome. So we can jump to the let's see. I don't want to get kicked off. That's okay. And there's different nations within the which would be considered ethnic groups and so forth and so on. Of course, you have the Franks. You have those the Greek. Yeah, Balkan people. Of course, you also had. He specifically said pale skin nation because there were also, Asiatics who were within the Roman Empire as well. Or who are at least being occupied as well, and also served. Let's see. I know I have a list. Find this list. Women. So here we go. And I'll share my screen in a minute. We'll go into the modern. All right. We'll just use the modern terms. Who was would have been considered today under the Roman Empire. So, please don't go out on me. I'll just use this. Okay. All right. Praise Allah. All right. So you have modern cities or modern countries, I'm sorry, Portugal, Spain, Andorra, England, France, Monaco, Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Italy, San Marino, Malta, Austria, Czech Republic. You have Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Syria, Iraq, Kuwait, Cyprus, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Sudan, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco were all part of the Roman Empire at one time. Okay. Now, prophet said pale-skinned nations of Europe. So you're going to be looking at England, France, Monaco, Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Italy, Austria, possibly Austria, Czech Republic, definitely, Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Romania, Bulgaria, maybe Georgia. But majority, the rest of them is definitely Asiatic, our people. Okay. But those, the pale skinned nations, you can tell who the pale skinned nations. Right. The prophet was specific. He was specific. He wasn't referring to all of Rome. He was talking about, because a lot of these places weren't necessarily, they were just occupied. Remember, Morocco, Algeria, Tunis, Libya, all that was Carthage at one time. So I said, well, the Carthaginians, they didn't necessarily, Carthaginians, they had, some of them were loyal to the Roman Empire, some of them weren't at one time. But Carthage stood on its own, and there always was a threat. Rome wanted to get occupation of Carthage. Well, Carthage would put up a fight. So we're talking about Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco were all part of Carthage. And Carthage was a Canaanite civilization founded by the Canaanites. They had, their traditions, the traditional, what they'll say Phoenician, but Phoenician is Canaanite. Okay. Jordan is the land of Moab. So yeah, these are places that they didn't necessarily they were occupied at the time. Not all of the people within within the Roman construct had allegiance to Rome. They were just being occupied. Now some submitted their allegiance and loyalty to Rome, but as a whole, it was, So the prophet was still, he's talking about those nations, those pale-skinned nations, they were engulfed into the Roman construct. Because a lot of these countries on this list did not even exist at the time. They only have a long standing, but this list is actually showing what they are modern, what they are today. Those areas. Some of these are very new. Czech Republic is very new. You know what I'm saying? Slovenia is very. I don't know what happened. My fault. Again, internet connection. Well, let me check. See how connection's holding up. He's on the phone. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing it. So the internet connection is unstable. Yeah. Hmm. Sorry about that, but we were on the fact that the pale skinned nations of Europe, um, at that time, were the ones that were actually fully occupied. Prophets being distinguished. He's being distinct, saying that it was the pale skinned nations of Europe. Say it was Rome, but it was just, those who were actually occupying, because that's what they did. They occupied particular areas within the world. It wasn't necessarily Asiatic, even though Asiatics were involved in Rome, very much so. As a whole, they didn't necessarily fully submit into the Roman idea. Did not fully submit into the Roman idea. So now, of course, the next question 29 says, how long has that been? About 2,000 years ago. What was the nationality of Ruth? Ruth was a Moabite. What is the modern name of a Moabite? Morocco. Okay. Where is Moroccan Empire? Northwest of Mexico. Okay. What is the modern name for a Mexican? Africa. What is the modern name for Mexico? Africa. Okay. Africa would be the modern name for what we call a Mexican. A Mexican, according to, I forgot his name, he's a sheik in the movement back in the time of the prophet. And when he spoke, he said, a Mexican, somebody raise their hand.
Yeah. Peace, brother. I just got a question. What's the origin of the term Muslim, and does it correlate with the breakdown of Moabite?
No, Muslim is the same as Muslim. Muslim is only just the English style word name of Muslim. It doesn't necessarily have anything breakdown towards Moabite. Moabite would be Moabitun, which are the saints of those areas, the Muslim saints, spiritual saints. Moabite. Sometimes when the Almoravid dynasty was in power at the time in Spain, they were known to be called Moabite, or they were called them Moabite. So I don't think, I've never seen anything connection between Moabite and Muslim in a sense. But Muslim is an English style word of or Western style pronunciation of Muslim. That's pretty much it. No, no, there's no connection to Moabite. Islam.
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 Is there a connection between Moabite and the teaching that we were once a seafaring people?
A what?
The teaching from Noble Drew Ali that we were once a seafaring people. The Moabites, do they have any connection to seafaring, as you know?
Yeah, Yeah, because the Moabites were within the Canaanite conglomerate, so they could have been seafaring. To travel as far as they did, I would definitely say they were. But the Canaanites and the Phoenicians, um, specifically those who were known as Phoenicians, were the vast seafarers. And they were part of our ancestry too. So we are connected to the Canaanites. So yeah, for anything, you know, um, regardless whether it be distinctly the Moabite, you know, um, regardless, being descended from Canaanites, we are seafaring, our peoples were seafaring people. Moabites distinctly, I haven't seen anything to say they were distinctly seafaring. But I know that the fact that they were within that umbrella of the Canaanite and they spoke a Canaanite dialect, um, you know, they're in connection to that. Probably most likely connection to that seafaring. Yeah.
Praise Allah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Islam.
It's almost. It's
Do you how do you feel about the connection of Moab, Utah? Is there any connection with Moab, Utah? So I've heard reference to that being like considered the land of Canaan. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, nobody has any distinct evidence to prove that. You can't take a name because there's a Mecca in Indiana, I think, and some people would say that was Mecca. That's Mecca. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times, people from different countries and backgrounds, they move to certain areas and they name those areas after biblical places, or they named it after certain people who might have biblical names. You know what I'm saying? So that's where a lot of that comes from. You know what I'm saying? But, like a lot of people, but see, you got these, got people who are not real anthropologists and archaeologists. They're just YouTube, internet, Google searches, and they just see stuff and they just go, oh, that's what it was. Like, nah, that's not what. You got to have more evidence. Like, what evidence do you have that was Moab? Or rock that you turn over. You saw like some engravement that said it was Moab. Like, did you actually ask the people? Did you visit it and actually ask the people? You know what I'm saying? Did you look in the books of when it was founded and stuff like that, or what was founded before it was named? What was? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people don't understand. Like when people say, like, okay, America was Morocco, America means Morocco. I said, well, you got to have linguistically, how does that translate? How do you correlate that linguistically? Like, what language is America? And like, what language is America? Morocco is not even Moroccan name. Really, it's not Moroccan linguistic. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't America mean land of the Mari, which could be related to the Mari, could relate it to the word Moor, Amorites?
I never heard America means the land of the Mali.
Peace. I think the correlation has to do with the term the land of Mu. If you ever heard of that.
Nah, I know what you're talking about. Lemuria. The Mu was short for Lemuria.
The land of Mu is supposedly the original term of the land masses when they were all connected.
Nah, actually, Lemuria is Lemuria. Lemuria was a land. It was a continent. You hear me?
Lemuria has to do with the Lemurians and
No, yeah, but I didn't say Lemuria. I said there was the
knows
land of Mu. That's different from Lemuria. Lemuria has to do with the Atlanteans.
Nah, Atlantis has to do with the Atlantis. Land of Mu is Lemuria. That's what Lemuria and Mu was the same thing. You got to get the book by Church
All right.
Wall. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy, he's the European who came up with that idea. You know what I'm saying? Who came up with who actually said he found, the rocks and stuff, saying Lemuria. Then they called it the Mu, land of Mu, the children of Mu. It's a book called
Yeah.
Children of Mu. You know
Wait,
what
hold
I'm
on.
saying?
And that's the connection. That's the connection to the Bornstone that was found in Louisiana.
The what song?
Oh wait, matter of fact, no, I think it was New Orleans. It's something called the Bornstone. It's basically so like if you ever the Wichita Nation
The
basically
Washington,
claimed to have been the Wichita. The
Yeah.
Washita Nation
Mm,
basically they had claimed to be here in the Americas long before Christopher Columbus, long before anybody
yeah,
else. They claimed they've always been here in this land. And one
yeah.
of the proofs of that, they had a trust for the land, and the trust was called the Bornstone. The Bornstone was basically like I forgot what kind of writing is on it. I think it's like similar to Kufic, ancient Arabic. But
Mm-hmm.
long story short, yeah. But the writing on the Bornstone or whatever the case is supposed to be where the first trust comes from and how people were starting to gain ownership of the land. Because originally we didn't own land. We didn't believe in that.
Right, we did. And yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the stone. Um, I just know that because I used to be a member of the Washington, and I know that I'm familiar with the Louisiana Purchase situation,
Right. Right. Right.
with
Right.
the person on that and so forth. So I don't know the connection, but I do know that they did try to attach themselves to the Moo and the Moria and all that, but that was just them really just, kind of over exaggerating certain things where they didn't really need to do.
Mm.
Because there's no evidence connecting you to that. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that, it's a lot of things. This is the thing is the Empress, she has certain things within her family, but in order to truly expound on it, history, you have to do a lot more research to show how you're connected to whatever tribe. Because they'll say we're connected to the moon, then they'll say they're connected to the Olmec, and then they'll say they're connected to like who, like what do you like? You know what I'm saying?
Like how
You
you
gotta
connect it to everybody with no clear like genealogy breakdown. No.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not taking anything from them and saying that the Washita are not original or whatever over here. And I'm not saying that, but the story has to be more clear and not convoluted like they've been doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you
Mm.
can't, and it shouldn't be where everybody should be able to join your nation. Like, you shouldn't allow that because you have to figure out who distinctly is your
You gotta
people
make
first.
sure you know who's who first. You
Yeah,
add a
and
new
start
people
with
and you're not even like 100% in your own genealogy. That's that's
exactly
not
there because I was a member, and that's when I stepped away. I started thinking about like, yo, like
because
my family is Cherokee or Anawai, and I messed that name up.
mine too.
But yeah, so my
Tsilagi,
friend, yeah,
Cherokee.
yeah. So I'm just thinking like, how would my ancestors feel if I'm worried about the Washita and I'm not learning about them first? Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yo.
Like,
There's
yeah, go ahead.
actually a great book. I
Uh,
actually just
go ahead.
just downloaded recently on the history of the Cherokee as well. You might have heard of it. It's called Old Souls. Hold on. Old Souls. Let me find it real quick.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Old Souls in the New World. The
Mm,
secret, the secret history of the Cherokee Nation.
what was that? It's a book.
Yeah, it's a book by Donald N. Hold on. Waiters? No, hold on.
I
It's
think I know what
just
you're talking
I got it as an audiobook on my phone, so like it's hard to see the title real quick. But hold on, I'm gonna
about.
find it real
It's on
quick.
Amazon.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can definitely find it there.
It's so old souls in the new world.
Yeah, Old Souls. Yeah, Old Souls in a New World. Old Souls in a New World. Shit. The secret history of the Cherokee Nation. I just gotta find the shit. Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to the audiobook yesterday. Yeah, that shit.
Yeah,
I
Donald.
feel
Yeah,
like a lot of that stuff is gonna tie in. So like what I heard, some of the information of what I heard, because I ain't finished that particular book yet, but just the other information I've been coming to as well. I heard that the Cherokee and a lot of other a lot of other tribes were actually formed via the U.S. government, basically naming groups of tribal people that were captured during the Gala Wars. And like the Gullah Wars, or otherwise known as the Seminole Wars,
yeah, the
was like a
color.
war of like a cluster of like multiple different tribes that came from like all over the country in order to
Yeah,
fight against the oppressors in Florida.
right.
So like, and during that basically is what ended up forming, like you got the Blackfoot, the Cherokee, the Choctaw, like certain
Mm-hmm.
tribes ended up getting that terminology because those are not originally our names.
And Anoia, that's what they say.
So like even the term so this is something I wanted to keep doing research on. So the reason why I asked you about Muslim earlier was
Yes,
because I
sir.
had read somewhere that it was supposedly an Algonquin word that had to
Mm-hmm.
do with the indigenous roots of the people. And then I also found out somewhere that the proper term for the peoples of America is the Amaru. And you know, Amaru got it. Yeah, so and that ties in kind of with the land of Mu, and then you got the high priest of Anu, which was what a lot of the Central American tribes was dealing with. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. I'm just trying to tie in everything and make sure everything fit, properly.
Well, you're on the right path. I'm not going to knock that. You know what I'm saying? You definitely throwing some good information. I actually looked it up on Amazon. The book is only $7-8. So I just grabbed it real quick. It'll be here by Tuesday. Um, so I had to scoop that up, but that'll be an interesting read because when you're dealing with what you're saying, a lot of language, and a lot of the natives actually mention in their stories that they traveled or they came from the east into America. You know what I'm saying? So you
Specifically the
know,
Cherokee Nation.
yeah, Cherokee has a story where they said they came from the east. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. If you get what's it, Red Man?
That's funny though too, because isn't there a story about how the Egyptians came from the west? Tamaray?
Uh, I heard about that, but I don't know if that's true. I haven't really. I think a group of them might have came from the west. I don't think they completely came from the west.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think it depends on what dynasty that came out of. You know what I mean?
I mean, I know the first dynasty came from Nubia and Ethiopia, so that's
Yeah,
like King Narmer, King Menes.
yeah. Maybe a dynasty came from the west. You know what I'm saying? Because
That's possible. Word. Yeah,
Red
that's dope.
Man's or
Some
the
people try
book.
to say that Tamaray is over here, so that's kind of like a confusion as well. Like, what? I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
gotta be careful. You gotta be careful who's talking because um a lot of people will confuse you with
Gotcha.
a lot of stuff. Because a lot of times what they're trying to do, they're trying to see people. What people are trying to do, brother, they're trying to validate indigenous status so they can take advantage of certain things socially. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
economic. So if they try to say they try to put everything over here, it creates a construct for them to say, okay, well, I don't need to go to Africa. I don't need this because if
Well,
there's
I
any hint,
mean, I
if there's
hear that.
yeah, I want to
I'm
say what
sorry.
it is that what it is they have any hint or inkling of them being connected to Africa, some feel like that jeopardizes their indigenous status, and it's like no, it doesn't. It really doesn't because it depends on your it depends on when you're at when if you have African heritage or whatever, it still means that you could have been here. No, because it's Africans that came here before Columbus. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
instead of
but
an established land. It doesn't
that's
it
that's very
compromise.
true. But that doesn't mean that the indigenous population is solely because of the African migration
Yeah,
or
that's
because of
true.
the African slave trade. That's why I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like it's a strong misnomer in this country because it's like everybody that's black just assumes that they come from Africa with no actual
right,
genealogical facts. And I've
right,
done my genealogy. I'm not done with it yet, but I haven't yet been able to find any traces of my family lineage in Africa. The
right.
closest I can get is the fact that the bust of King Minis kind of looks
Mm-hmm.
like me. Like other than that, like for the first pharaoh of Egypt, other than that, I would have no proof to say I'm an African American or I'm from Africa. So it's like the only real evidence I have of my genealogy would be my grandmother saying that we're Cherokee and Blackfoot Indians, and my father's side being Garifuna, which is Central American tribe. Basically, they come from Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua, and and that side of my family actually originates in Spain. So,
Mm-hmm.
and they're known as the Basque. I don't know if you ever heard of the Basque or the Basique, but they're known as the oldest ethnic group in Spain. And they actually pre-existed the Romans, the Moors, the Visigoths, and the Franks over there in that region, the Basque country of Spain.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
Basque
I would
country.
say this. I would say this. Then, if that's true, and that's where your family comes from that region,
On my father's side.
on your father's side, you're still talking about a migration that
Now,
occurred
of course,
out of Africa into, you know what I'm saying? Because there was multiple migrations out of Africa into Europe.
Nah, it was, but ironically, like in the research, it said specifically that that particular family or
Mm-hmm.
group of people were there before the Iberian races, and the Iberian races are supposedly the Phoenicians that populated Europe.
Right.
So if they was there before them, you know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Like that means that could have just been a tribe that was there since either the original migration from when the continents first split up, or
Yeah.
rather they were just there from when the continents were still connected. But either
Yeah.
or, yeah.
Yeah. Because they could inhabit it exactly when the continents. That's a good point. When the continents were all together, they could have migrated and from one region and then settled there because when the
Exactly.
continents were still together, I think that was
Hmm.
before the Ice Age period. So that family survived the Ice Age period. You know what I'm saying? In which
It
that's
was definitely
also
before the last ice age, I know, because
yeah.
supposedly in history it was like 4 ice ages recorded, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
before
Yeah.
the last one.
Mm-hmm.
That supposedly trapped a group of people in the Caucasus Mountains that created the
Mm-hmm.
Caucasian and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a theory. That's not proven fact. But yeah. but with
Huh.
your
My bad,
but
I
I'm
ain't hear you, boss.
yeah,
I'm
but what I'm
sorry.
saying with your family is very distinct, and I think that's something that that's very interesting. You definitely want to continue to dig into
For
that,
the
man.
genealogy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it's
Cause
beautiful.
yeah, cause it literally says stuff like we've like fought against the Moors at times, we fought against
Mm-hmm.
the Franks, fought against the Romans, and
Mm-hmm.
during all of those times that those different groups came and conquered Spain, the
Mm-hmm.
Basque have maintained their separate ethnic culture throughout the whole thing. Like they've been able to maintain a distinct separate culture from those different groups, even
Mm-hmm.
when they found themselves aligned with those groups at times. Like there was a small time that they was aligned with the Roman Empire when they first came, and then we kicked them out, helped kick them out. Same thing with the Moors and etc. So I mean, and I guess that's why there's still a Basque region today in Spain that's
Mm-hmm.
like still populated by a majority of people that's supposedly a part of that clan or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that's probably they have some type of fierce military strategy. You know what I'm saying? That kept them, you know what I'm saying, to themselves and preserving their culture. That's beautiful, man. I definitely please keep me abrupt or what you find, man, because that's I never heard of the family that and I think that's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's wonderful to hear that. Definitely, definitely keep yeah, man, keep digging on that one. Cause that might connect some stuff, man. That might connect some stuff. You know what I mean? Definitely. So oh yeah, yeah. Talking about northwestern Mexico, Morocco. Oh, you guys are asking. I forgot. You guys are asking about the bull bite. Okay. So where are we at? Jesus. Okay, we at what is the modern name for Mexico, Africa? What is the title given to ruler in Morocco? Sultan.
Check.
Hello?
Yeah, it's on peace. My fault. It was a question I always had with the one-on-ones when like they was like Jesus was born in the house of David, right? Like what like was they speaking about his genealogy or the actual house of David?
No, he's talking about the family. The house of David is the family.
Like as in like my last name would have been McTavish. They'd be like the house of McTavish.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And then my question was, what was the point of putting when he was like Boaz by Ruth and he said they no.
Joseph
Damn.
by Mary.
Yeah. Joseph by Mary. Like what
Right.
was the significance of putting like everything else said everybody else's name, but except for those two, it says so and so by so and so and so by so. Like what was the point of doing that? Why didn't they just put Ruth or just put Mary or just put Boaz and just put Joseph? Like why did they
Because
put
because it says some of the great fathers. So he wanted to connect the bloodline through the via the fathers, but Boaz being married, Boaz being connected to Ruth, or Ruth being, he wanted to mention, you know what I'm saying? It's basically he wanted to connect the men to the fathers. So he's saying that basically Ruth being a Moabite, you know what I'm saying? She put in, even though she wasn't really into the family, you know what I'm saying? It was Boaz. She carried on the family through her because she was, she came in out from the outside. You know what I'm saying? Like where, you know, others would probably marry ones who were actually already into the tribe, who were in the tribe, who were in the same tribe. Ruth wasn't in the same tribe, technically. She was a Moabite. Mary might not have been in the same tribe. You know what I'm saying? Joseph was. He was in the house, but Mary might have been from a different. That's something you might want to look into. We can look into see who Mary was, what was her tribal ancestry and connection. You know what I'm saying? And coming into the family. A lot of times they kept it within the nation. You know what I'm saying? Within the house. Married amongst themselves. Or their tribal thing. So, yeah. So, so that's what you probably would get. Why he said by Ruth, by Mary, in that explanation. If I can try to, hope I was able to clear that up. But you'll see it distinctly
yeah.
because they're important. You know, Mary's important, and the more distinguishedly, Mary and Ruth are important. Mary is always significant because in Islam, Jesus is always known as the son of Mary. Okay, Jesus is known as the son of Mary. Mary is always, even when you find any description of Jesus laid down within Islam, is always saying Jesus, son of Mary, the son of Mary. And then when you dealing with Ruth, Ruth is always highlighted. Boaz doesn't have a book in the Bible. Ruth has the book. You know what I'm saying? You mentioned Boaz's name and Ruth, the book of Ruth. This is how they're introduced. They're usually introduced by Mary. Joseph's usually introduced by Mary.
Praise the Lord.
Boaz's story is introduced through Ruth. You know what I'm saying? So they're very significant women, in the pantheon. So that's very important. Sister Sophia, you got something to say?
Yes, Sister Zafia. I concur that it's usually the custom is to give the line genealogy of the patriarchs, but when there were certain women, and the prophet said in this era and time, it's important for prophetically minded people to develop, like ourselves, to develop a deeper appreciation for womanhood. So I think
Exactly.
the prophet was trying to make a special point when there were women undeniably granted special acknowledgement by prophets of Allah, like Ruth having her own book in the Bible, and of course the Surah Miriam in the Great Quran of Muhammad. I think the prophet went through special pains to show the women that those particular patriarchs sired their children through, because those women had special positionality that could not be denied in the storyline of the prophets. Peace.
Islam, that was a beautiful breakdown, short and to the point, and better than my breakdown. So, not to say that I was rambling. Um, but
No,
yeah,
you were getting at it. Praise Allah.
thank you. But that's it. Yeah, they're very highlighted. They're very important in the story, in the whole background story. So they have very significant role. So that's why they, and like I said, a lot of you don't really know about you. You know what I'm saying? Mary is very much highlighted in the story. She's very much highlighted within the religion between Christianity and Islam. She's very highlighted. You know, Ruth, like I said, has her own book. You know, so there's things you want to, but it's key things. And also clues. These are also clues for you to expound upon in your study to see who are these people, who are, what significance do they have? So what characteristics? Always look for the characteristics and the things they might have achieved, in that time. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll get a clearer understanding what, possibly what the prophet is pouring out. Great appreciation for womanhood. And that's something that we stand upon. The prophet at this time. Watching a video on some young lady was doing a video and she was highlighting Father Divine, and she was highlighting how he had so many women in powerful positions, and I was like, yeah, but he wasn't the only one. The prophet, the women were very powerful in his time. When he was alive, the women were grand governors. They were grand sheikhs. They held very powerful positions in the movement, very significant authority. The women's auxiliary was the backbone. They had everything in order. You know what I'm saying? If the movement needed money, they raised the money. The movement, to organizing the convention, they had to do it. That was done, putting it together. Because nobody really puts it together like a woman. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a sister who's really in tune, like she comes in, it's already done. Some sisters is like you ever have an event and it's kind of chaotic, you really don't know what you do, and the sisters come right to you with a sweet voice like, "Hey brother, what do you need done? Can we help?" Okay. Boom, next thing you know, it's already done. Like they got the streamers up, they got the balloons, tables set, what I'm saying? Everything. They organize pretty well. They know how to, keep it together. Okay, so let's move on to okay, we covered questions of and then we touched on the issue of that question 33, which is the modern name for Mexican is Africa. What is the title given to our ruler of Morocco? Sultan. Okay, and I expounded on why Sultan. Sultan doesn't necessarily mean the prophet is alluding to that a time and era. He was pointing to a time and era when that ruler of Morocco, his name is Sultan. Now the ruler of Morocco, his name is not Sultan. He goes by king, which is not a it's not a term that commonly was used by Morocco or Morocco. It's usually Sultan. The prophet is usually alluding to a time and era. He said, what is the title given to our rulers in Morocco? So we don't give him king. That's not our ruler. Our ruler is Sultan. So some people want to go and rub elbows with Moroccans and with the with the rock killer. When we gonna go and talk to Moroccans? Like, I mean, we can talk to them, but we're not bound to marry into that government because it's not the government. The prophet told me not this time, not yet. Hold on, it ain't right over there. Islam is not right over there. It ain't no where's the Sultan? The king is the king. What's that? That's foreign. We don't deal with that. We don't deal with that title, king. Not in that, not in that epoch or that fixture. I mean, we were, of course, we had Moorish kings in Europe. We had that, but that's a different fixture. That's a different setting. You know what I'm saying? That's under a different banner, a different understanding that they're operating on. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about Morocco. We're talking about Islam. We're talking about, what's the title given? Sultan. So the ruler of Morocco now, is he a sultan? No, not sultan. They go by king. So I would go into it, but I don't want to mess up the doggone feed. Let me see. Morocco. So we go King of Morocco. Mohammed VI of Morocco is King of Morocco. And he looked like someone's uncle, to be honest. I show a picture of her. I don't know if y'all seen a picture of him. I show a big picture of him. There you go. Oops. Look like he'd be related to somebody. But he got his turban on. He's known as the King of Morocco. And then I know they have a breakdown of the rulers. Some different policies, different treaties and orders. Yeah, so it hasn't been sultan since probably when Spain occupied Morocco. So the sovereign realm of sovereignty that Morocco once had has definitely is no longer. It's no more. So a lot of people, jumping on it, trying to claim a treaty. I forgot. SGS Supreme Grand Chief said something. I forgot what he said today, man. He said something that was key about everyone, claiming, the treaty and all that type of stuff. And he said something that made so much sense. I forgot it. He said you can't. He said it doesn't make sense to claim a treaty. He said talking about that when people refer to this nation as a de facto nation, right? They say the de facto government. That's what they say. It's a de facto government. So if it's de facto government, then that means the treaty is de facto. It can't uphold a treaty. Why would you make a treaty with a de facto government? That means everything is null and void. Period. Like it's just null and void. And if we're de facto, definitely, but everything else that it says it holds is not real. The de facto means it's fake. It's not real. It has no more. It has no power, no sphere of leverage, nothing. So it doesn't have no ability to uphold anything if it's de facto. So why would anybody like even try to lean on that perspective? That's what you were trying to say. It made a lot of sense. But let me stop sharing. Oh, I'm sorry about that. You can't hear anything? Can you hear me? Morris, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Mom, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you Mo.
All right. Mo said he can't hear me. All right. So we get clear. So where do we get the name Jesus from? That's the next key. Jesus comes from the east. So you get the name Jesus from the east. And I think I explained that in a book when you talk about Jesus coming from Jesus actually his name in Sanskrit. I believe that's a measure. Let me see if I can pull that up.
What you said his name is?
It's Jesus. I said you can find. I think it's a measure where you can find his name in Sanskrit.
Oh, Sanskrit. Oh, I thought you said his name was Samson. I was like, what?
No, I know his name is. No. Dude. Yeah. So his name in Sanskrit would be Krista. Krista. So you see the name Krista is in that word spelled Krista. Krista. Right. There's actual chants created. You can actually look them up. There's actual chants. They have chants for Jesus in Sanskrit. That's the Hindu religion. That's very.
Wait, are you saying Krishna?
No, I'm not saying Krishna. It's Krista.
Oh, okay.
Krista. It's similar though. Definitely similar. Go to find it. So I know it says Jesus. The next one, what does it mean? What does the name Jesus mean? Jesus means justice. So when you say Jesus means justice, that's a good question. So you go to Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 2. Talks about rendering justice and good and charity. The justice is loving, merciful, gracious, generous, restorative. Right? So it talks about listen to justice. So one of the names of Jesus is justice. When you render any charity, when you give balance to where there's injustice, when things are set straight, that's what Jesus' part was to come. His duty was to fulfill his name, which is to bring justice. So anytime.
Oh, Islam.
Yeah.
Is that kind of a way to interpret, like at the beginning of the Koran on page 3, it says these lessons are for good. It says, dear readers, do not misuse these lessons, because these lessons are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. So it could be justice, all those who love Jesus.
Those who love justice. Yeah. Those who love justice.
So he's saying do justice to these lessons. Don't use them.
Yeah, that's right. Be just, be fair, be balanced.
Right. Don't use them with poor intention.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what Jesus represents. He represents justice, means justice. That means do things with good intentions, do things with fair, equity, with good intentions, like we said before, with a balanced mind, those type of accolades and characteristics when dealing with the left.
Peace. Thank you.
Yeah. It makes you think about why in law, he's even used in a sense in different courtrooms, stuff like that, things, given to Jesus. They know the sign that this not, people are caught up in the religious and dogmatic version, but there's an application that's more common or more applicable, more in a sense where it deals with justice, it deals with balance and those type of things. When you look at a lot of these religious prophets, they carry principles with them. You know what I'm saying? They carry principles. When you look at Jesus, justice comes in the morning, or justice comes when the sun rises, right? Son of God, right? That sun, light bearing anytime out of darkness, represents a resolution to an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like you're clouded. We're clouded with confusion. We're clouded with darkness, and then all of a sudden here comes the sun, right? And the sun, astrologically represents, or Jesus correlates astrologically with the sun, right? So here comes justice. Here comes light. Here comes a resolution. You know what I'm saying? Here comes the fairness. After being treated unfairly, here comes the fairness. Here comes the knowledge and the things that you need, that you were searching for while in this clouded darkness, or this darkness that was over your mind or over your mood or your heart. Here comes Jesus. Here comes justice. You know what I'm saying? The preachers, they kind of use it right, but they over embellish. But in the concept, the idea of waiting for Jesus or waiting for justice, you know what I'm saying, or seeking Jesus or seeking justice. Seek justice. You know what I'm saying? Seek a balance. Seek the right path to balance out your situation. You know.
Islam, thank you. Yeah, because then that gets into natural law, where it's like if you're seeking justice because cause and effect, you have to be justice if you want to.
Exactly. You gotta be just. You gotta be just in yourself. You gotta make sure everything within you is balanced too. You know what I'm saying?
Otherwise, it's not going to work out. Yeah. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. That's right. Praise Allah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Justice 37. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus the holy name? Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. 38. What is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh.
Islam.
Huh? Yeah.
For question 37, how it
Yeah.
says it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. Is that basically saying it's only to be used for the adepts? Or like, since we proclaimed our nationality on, we no longer slaves to sin?
Okay. This question alludes to the fact that there's a name that's given to Jesus. Okay. Listen to the words. It says, and it says yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. Okay. Yes, this is a text. This is basically alluding to a name that's given, and those who know it cannot use it if they're slaves to sin. So there's a special name that's given to Jesus, right? And
Okay.
listen, let me finish. There's a special name given to Jesus, and the way to use it effectively cannot be done by those who are slaves to sin. Okay. Now, yes, there's a name that the adepts know, and it's equated to Jesus, and it's a special method of using it at a special point in time. But you got to be pure before you use it. You can't just use it with bad intention. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is kind of connecting to an adept, and to those who are adepts. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Islam.
Okay.
When you were saying that, it also made me think of justice. Like, perhaps another meaning could be like, if you're slaves to sin, then you can't use justice well.
That's
Justice
right.
won't be given to you.
Hey, that's another way of looking at it. It's true. Oh man. The next question. We talk about the angels. Talk about the angels. Okay. Okay, I'm coming out of the Encyclopedia of Occultism. Okay. Encyclopedia of Occultism. The word angel, angelos, in Greek is malak. In Hebrew, literally signifies a person sent. Listen, a person sent or a messenger. Well, read that again. The word angel, angelos in Greek, malak in Hebrew, literally signifies a person sent or a messenger. It is a name not of nature, but of office. It's a name, not of nature, but of office. And is applied also to men in the world as ambassadors or representatives. In a lower sense, angel denotes a spiritual being employed in occasional office. And lastly, men in office as priests or bishops. The angel of congregation among the Jews was the chief of the synagogue. Such is the scriptural usage of the term which in common word parlance is now limited to its principal meaning and denotes only to the inhabitants of heaven. Okay, so now when we're talking about angel in the cultic book, it's saying it is a station, it's an office. When it says 38, what is an angel? An angel is the thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. What are the angels used for? To carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations, right? Who is our prophet to us? He is the angel of Allah who is sent to bring the everlasting gospel of Allah. Those four questions correlate
Islam
with
check.
Islam.
Yeah, I'm sorry for disrupting. I was building with the brother Obadiah the other day on exactly what you was bringing up just now. And I don't got my one-on-one by me, but you just said an angel is the thought of Allah manifested in the flesh, right?
Yeah, human flesh, man.
Human flesh, yeah. It was a question before that. I don't know if it was talking about the angel or the prophet. It was talking about something, but it said is the thought of Allah manifested in flesh. Then the other one said, is the thought of Allah manifested in human flesh?
Yeah, prophet
so it was
is
like
manifested in flesh.
Yeah, so like, what does that mean? A prophet doesn't only have to be human?
Yeah, a prophet. Hold on. See, a prophet many times don't have to always come to you in human form or human flesh. You know what I'm saying?
They could be an animal.
Maybe it could be an animal,
Or like
it could
an
be
alien, or like an alien or something. That's what that's what he's talking about.
I won't even go that far. I won't go
Or the
that far.
prophet, yeah, the
I
prophet
would
could
say
come in dreams, and he doesn't
through
have to be in
dreams.
the flesh.
Exactly, dreams. It doesn't have to be in the flesh. It could
Sheikh,
be
I'm
But I'm
the
saying, what would it be? Oh, so what you're saying is it'll be a human form in the dream, but because it's in the spiritual, it's not the actual flesh. That's what you're saying?
exactly.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. That make more sense. All right.
Yeah. He's an alien. I was like, whoa, I said, don't go too far, boy. Bring it back a bit. That's what's up, though. But yeah, usually they can come in, flesh divine, which flesh divine can travel in the astral plane. You know what I'm saying? It can travel through the soul plane, astral plane, and appear in your dreams. So prophet can come to you in your dreams, like Prophet Al-Qadr, quiet as kept. I had a dream about Kidder one time years ago. You know what I'm saying? And he was twirling and twirling and twirling and twirling. He had all green on. He was twirling and twirling in my dreams. So I was just like, yo, yeah, all green on. And I was like, yeah, I forgot who I either asked. I might have asked Brother Sufi, or I might have asked Professor Kareem. And I asked one of them, and I told him my dream. And I said, you think that might be, I might have saw Kidder? Right? They just laughed at me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, yeah, I probably did, yeah. I saw, because it was just, he didn't say anything to me in the dream. He kept spinning and spinning and spinning. You know what I'm saying? I kept watching him spin, and, I don't know what else happened in the dream. I can't remember, but, a lot of times you'll see these people appear to you, and they have a message for you, you know what I'm saying? Or they have something to show you. and it's like they're not physically there, but they are in your, appearing to you. So yeah. But an angel usually comes to you in human flesh, in human form. So it kind of gives you a concept of when Jibril might have appeared to Prophet Muhammad in the cave, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad. So some people said it was a physical man that came to him. And then it gives you an idea when they say in the Quran of angel appearing to Mary and telling about Jesus being born. Some say the angel was who Mary laid down with. That's a lot of these. A lot of these things have more deeper meaning than what the imams, and priests, and the preachers are telling you. When you begin to study these terms, you begin to understand that there's, a lot of things. It takes away the spookism. You know what I'm saying? It takes away the spookism in this thing. I mean, there's still some mysticism in it, and some, some high science, but it takes away from the superstition and all that type of stuff that, that comes with the dogma and all that, and everything. So it's very, very interesting. So you see the angels of the station. You guys want to get a huh? Is on? Hello? Oh, okay. Where's the love? All right. So we're at tonight. Jumped off. Okay. All right. So we're at everlasting gospel. What is the everlasting gospel? It's saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient forefathers, my ancient fathers by his prophets. Okay. Have y'all ever heard of a sisla? Yeah, I heard a sisla, a chain.
The
So what,
system.
Mo?
You know what sisla is when they say that?
I've heard the term.
Yeah.
I've heard the term, but I don't know it personally.
All right. You know what? Okay. You know the sisla. A sisla is where a lot of sheikhs they proclaim or claim that they have a sisla that connects them to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. A lot of sheikhs.
Oh, could you say what that's called again? Pronounce that again, because I've heard about that. A what? A sisla?
Yeah,
Or
sisla.
how you spell it?
Oh, let me make sure I'm straight. Good stuff. I don't want to lie to nobody. Hold on. Nah, hold on. I might got the I might be, that's what it is. Might be that. Let me change. Line change. Come on. Sorry, give me 1 minute. It's not coming up with the line change. I know the word. I might be spelling it wrong. I think it's S-E.
But that's the line that they mostly trace to the lineage of Ali, right? All of them except the Naqshbandis, they all trace their lineage to Ali. Is that right?
No, they usually trace that back to Muhammad, peace be upon him, and
Right.
possibly through Ali.
Right, through the account of Ali, because Ali is like this gold standard, because he was raised by Prophet Muhammad, he was adopted cousin, and then he married the daughter of Prophet
Yeah,
Muhammad. So
Fatima.
like
Yeah, Fatima.
people feel like if you trace to that particular companion of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his descendants, then you've got a better chance of getting the authentic, some kind of authentic insight into how the prophet operated in his inner spiritual home environment. And that's what the Sufis claim that they have, is this insight into the inner personal spiritual world of how a prophet developed his spiritual gifts, you know,
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
a person of honor. But the only lineage I heard that also adds Abu Bakr is, because most of them just go through Ali's family lineage, recounting of the prophet. But there's another one called the Naqshbandis. They also go through his best friend Abu Bakr as an additional lineage. Everybody else just goes straight to the family. They go straight to Fatima and Ali.
Yeah.
And they usually say Ali. They kind of keep Fatima kind of implicit. If you understand who Ali married, you understand she was raised by the first believer, Khadijah, and that she, you know, was raised by the prophet himself. So, praise Allah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sisala. I was saying it wrong. The Sisala is spelled Silsilah. You're right. It's usually used by the Sufis.
Silsilah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sisala. Yeah. Sisala.
That's it.
Sisala. Yeah.
So,
So
could that be what the prophet was getting at when he said on the back of the questionnaire, he says, the great prophet of Ali? Could he have been mentioning, like, in terms of how Ali saw and viewed the great prophet Muhammad, would have been a different vantage point from most anybody else, because he was raised by him,
well, I'm gonna
and
say
his
this.
wife was too.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm coming in clear. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Clear.
All right. So when there's a sheet, a sheet, Brother A. Smith Bay. I've yet to get him on here. I'm gonna try to get him on here. He's been busy. I know his son had just graduated from college, and they're trying to get him squared away because he got a job down working for United Airlines down in Texas. So I wanted to deal. I want to deal with him, but me and him, when we dialogue, we have this conversation. He expounds on something that really I never took consideration about. There's a letter by a person called Sati Majid. Sati Majid put out a fatwa. He requested a fatwa from the university in Egypt against Prophet Noble Drew. And in this fatwa, or in this request of this fatwa, Sati Majid said that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is an actual name in which it's drawn out as prophet who drew his nobility from the house of Ali.
Oh, Sisala, or whatever. That sounds like a Sisala.
Yeah,
That sounds Sufi. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what they're saying, that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is saying, is that he is the prophet who drew his nobility from the house of Ali. So in connection to the back of the 101, it could be saying that when he says from the great prophet of Ali, you know what I'm saying, he could be saying that it's connecting to the house of Ali. Because even in brother, he's not on, but brother Abdullah Ibrahim Bey, he comes from the Tijani Sufi order. He's a Tijani Sufi. And he's a member of Mission 28 with us. And we have these dialogues. And he says, like, the interesting part, he says, brother, the interesting part about the Prophet Noble Ali in this story, and it's and the conflict between, what happened between him and even the rise of, C. Kurtman Bey, the ink, it has some correlations between the struggle between Ali and Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr and those who overthrew, and they basically, I'm gonna say, bully-footed and bogart the whole movement of the religion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
Do
saying?
you
And it's
feel
kinda
that there's
similar.
a lot of parallels between what happened back? Because you know how the prophet said those who were with, well, he was talking about the story of Jesus, but he's
Yeah.
a reincarnation into Muhammad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he said, those who were with me 2,000 years ago,
You're with me now.
right, he implied had reincarnated and were with him now. So could it also have been also the case, those who were with him 1,400 or I guess 1,300 years ago back then were with him again and replaying some version of that same drama, after he passed away?
Yeah, you got to read spirit. Principle and spirit are similar in nature, because you look for the spirit of something, look for the principle. So the principles are reenacting, what I'm saying, and now in these day and time, so you can see the correlation between the conflicts and stuff like that having having similarities and stuff like that. Maybe not exactly
Not
to
exactly.
the bone, to the
Yeah.
point, but the nature of it is similar, to what happened, even correlating to what happened at the time with Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and
Praise Allah.
Ali and Sayyidina Ali and Fatima as well.
Praise Allah. Because I feel like these concepts of the lower self and these various, they so correlate with the Sufi concepts of the nafs and the, power, that I'm like, the prophet didn't say the word Sufi, but he kind of like, for those who eventually come into their own and get a very sophisticated understanding of the Sufism world, the Tasawwuf world, based on the teachings, based on the great prophet of Ali in particular, meaning the tradition that Ali received. Because, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a prophet to everybody, including his close family members. Khadijah was his first convert. That was his intimate wife, So they weren't like, some people is like, they're movie stars to everybody else but their own inner family, right? But it wasn't the case with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was like some of his first converts were, I think Ali was his second convert. It was like they witnessed maybe miracles even more so than even some of the more famous Rashidun. Maybe even Abu Bakr wasn't privy to some of the things that like Khadijah and Ali were privy to, even though he was like his best friend when the Hijra happened. It was Abu Bakr who was at his side, hiding out in the cave and everything. But Abu Bakr wasn't there day in, day out from the very, very, very beginning in terms of to see the day-to-day transformations that a prophet who was being given messages from Jibril, like what they go through and what they, you know what I mean? How they keep themselves together, guarding their nafs, et cetera, right?
Right.
So these lessons coming from that perspective, and then for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it's said by Murids to have been mentored maybe up until the point of his prophecy, just to be a good person. He was mentored by the Prophet Ibrahim in his dreams and visited by him. So like, these lessons are coming all the way from Ibrahim's version of Islam, passed down possibly through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to his inner circle. That's a real refined version of Sufism, if so. maybe beyond, you can't even call it Sufism at that point, but it definitely is of the same family. You know what I mean? So it's just a thought, because it's so mysterious to some outsiders. Oh, if Noble Drew Ali brought Islam, how come y'all aren't speaking more Arabic? How come y'all aren't dressing a certain way? How come y'all aren't doing certain things 5 times a day and once a year? Those are the outer signatures of being authentically of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, from an outer circle perspective. But maybe his inner circle, like Ali and Fatima, maybe they knew different. And so the great Prophet of Ali, coming from that tradition, is like, wow.
There's a brother who actually said that I believe under the Fatima dynasty, they didn't make Salat.
What? Are you serious? I have never heard that.
Yeah, they didn't make Salat because of the attack on them. The conflicts that were going on, and they didn't make Salat because
Oh, you mean in the public spaces? They didn't do it. Okay, because Ali was killed doing sajda. That's true.
Yeah, doing sajda. Yeah, he was killed doing sajda. So they didn't make Salat out of respect for that. So a lot of times people, and like I said, I'm not going against Salat at all, because Salat is very needed. But I'm saying that a lot of times, first of all, let me clarify. The Salat really, in all actuality, take outside the frame of religion or a specific religion, is not it's not distinctly owned by Islam. Okay, the Salat is not owned by Islam. The movements, the body movements, are universal, and you can find it in many different religions. The Eastern Orthodox brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, so-called Ethiopia, Abyssinia, they make a Salat. They make the substance. They do Rakul. You know what I'm saying? They do these verses and they pray. And as you can see, you can look it up on YouTube and find them doing it. The Jewish brothers, those who practice Judaism, Sephardic Jews, they make the Salat. Even in Buddhism. But the Buddhists, they prostrate. When they prostrate laying flat down on face down on the ground. They're totally stretched out on the ground when they make that substance, or what we would know as substance. These methods and techniques are not owned specifically to Islam. I did a presentation a few conventions ago on the Salat. And my point when I wanted to make was I wanted to show them that, it's not an Arab tradition. It's not an Arab custom. Like brothers, Moors be saying, it's the Arab, pale Arab. They always say that. You know what I mean? It's not an Arab custom. It's a universal custom that's been known to happen. So if it's done in all the religions, or more than one religion, then there's something to it. And that means that it comes from an older tradition, and it might have been passed down and carried on by different people who firstly propagated that religion. And so sometimes you gotta look for the clues and the elements from all these different religions to find out that they might have came from one religion or one method that used to be practiced eons ago.
Ibrahim, right? Him and his
Prophet
son
Ibrahim.
Ishmael were the ones who did that.
But guess what? It didn't even start with him. It might have went back further. It might have gone back further. That's what we're saying. Like we're talking about Abraham. We're talking about certain people, and the prophets talking about certain people. These are markers. These are characters who stand as markers in a timeline and a reference point for us to understand. You know what I'm saying?
Clues.
They're not
They're
necessarily they're clues. They're not necessarily the point of complete origin. You know what I mean? Because we existed before, our people, man, been existed before Abraham, before Adam.
Praise Allah.
Adam is just a point of reference of when we were at a certain state.
But listen, unfortunately I have to leave. The place I'm getting internet from, this library, is about to close. But it's been wonderful to build with you.
Yeah.
And I wish you all a wonderful rest of your evening.
Yeah, we're about to close soon anyway. Okay. That's fine.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Islam. Peace.
Islam. Peace. Yeah, definitely, she's very insightful, man. Definitely would get a build with her. Oh yeah. Oh, what are you talking about, the angel? There we go. What is our prophet? There's the angel. Everlasting gospel. I want to get to everlasting gospel. That everlasting gospel. And you're looking at, we call it cyclical change, but not necessarily with the prophet of Muhammad, but we're saying connection to Allah. And we're saying this everlasting gospel is the saving power that comes from Allah through his ancient fathers by his prophet. Okay? So the prophet was bringing us this everlasting gospel, connecting us to our ancient fathers. Ancient fathers are the ancient founders, or the founders or fathers of civilization. The ones who first set forth on this planet, on this plane, to set first civilization. You understand? So we're not talking about, within the bounds of a religious standpoint or a doctrinal standpoint of religion. We're actually going out and we're connecting to our ancient fathers. You know what I'm saying? The prophet, the distinctive thing about us when we practice Islam, and we're talking about Islam, we're talking about the religion of Islam, we're setting up to actually connect it to a more ancient understanding too. We want to be holistic, because a lot of times in religion they cut off the ancient world. The ancient world is backwards, according to most religions or most contemporary religious institutions. It's backwards. The ancient world didn't know anything about God. They were pagan worshippers, this, that, whatever. So the Prophet Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, not just Prophet Muhammad, but Prophet Noble Ali was giving us the understanding that going back to our ancient fathers, that there's this everlasting gospel that came from Allah, the source of everything, the force that actually created all, that our ancient forefathers knew, our ancient fathers knew. And then through his prophet is this connecting us to it, and this everlasting gospel. Okay. So and in 42, it says, what is the covenant of the great God of Allah? That's a whole new thing. To honor thy father and mother, that their days may be long upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah has given you. That's a covenant. That's an agreement. When you honor your mother and father, not just your direct mother and father, but your ancient mother and father. What would they do? What were they doing? What were their lifestyle? That's key. What was their lifestyle? That made me think. I just thought about that. What was the lifestyle of the ancient mother and father? Were they doing the same stuff we doing? Most likely not. They were not doing the same stuff we were doing. So, that's something to search for, something to look for. What was your ancient? Because their lifespan was long. You can go into the Bible and see how long these individuals were living at one time. We're talking about 900, almost 1,000 years. People were living on the planet for almost a millennium. And Methuselah. People like, you old Methuselah, right? You heard that? Heard that term? Somebody called somebody old Methuselah? Because Methuselah, and I was like, you thinking it's, something funny. But then when you actually find that name in the Bible and find out how long he lived, you're like, hey, you lived pretty long according to the Bible. He lived pretty long. But you had people who lived past 100. I just saw, it showed up on my timeline, the oldest World War II veteran, he is 112 years old. Currently, still living. He is 112 years old. And you look at some of our brothers and sisters, our elders nowadays who are in their 50s and 60s, and you'll be like, dang, you 50, you 60 years old? You don't look it. You know who I listen to, and I know he cursed a lot. He cursed a lot, but I listen to a comedian, T.K. Kirkland, sometimes, and he's hilarious. But he's 60. He's 60 years old. But you look at T.K. Kirkland and you don't think he's 60. Sometimes T.K. Kirkland looks like he like in his mid-40s, maybe mid to late 40s. But T.K. Kirkland's 60. And he's chiseled up. He stays in good health. He does the comedy, the stand up, and all that. But that's an example. There's others to show example too. Sade, I think she's like 60 or 70, but she don't look 60 or 70. At least on, I see her on social media. Sade looks still young. Like on a good day, she looks like she's still in her 30s. For those who know who Sade is, I don't know. I know Obadiah and Latif, y'all pretty young. Y'all might not know who Sade is. You know what I'm saying? Fenty Bay knew who Sade is.
What'd you say, shit?
I said, you don't know who, y'all might not know who Sade is, but the singer, y'all too young, y'all might not know who that is. But
Oh,
Fenty
I know
Bay,
who that is. Familiar,
yeah,
familiar.
yeah. Fenty Bay knew what I'm talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sade, she's still bad, bro. Like, but I'm just showing you, like, the particular is an example of our people in real time we can relate to that still look young at an older age. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are ages where people should be retiring, having grandchildren and all that, but they still look young. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, we got, we're looking at the possibilities of men. Possibilities of men. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother almost reached, but she passed away at 95. Right? She almost reached 100. She was 5 years short of 100 years. You know what I'm saying? She was one of the oldest living people in my town growing up in Darlington City, New Jersey. So, and that's a long age. 95 nowadays, that's long. Praise Allah. I talked to Bailey Hill, and when I spoke to Bailey Hill, and I told him, how old my grandmother is, he was like, oh, he's like, that's old. He's like, yeah, that's beautiful. And praise Allah, that's beautiful, bro. She lived that old. Yeah, that's what he would say. Bailey Hill, but Bailey Hill lived pretty. I mean, he didn't reach 90, but he was shy short. He would have, a few years, he'd have been 90. He definitely would have been 90. He lived a long life, pretty good long life, reached his 80. So, but we're talking about, biblical age, and we're talking related to the everlasting gospel. And then we talk about the covenant. And so when you stay within that covenant, your life will be longer upon this earth plane. So, to understand what we agree to live the life, to honor them. How do you honor someone? You're saying sometimes you take on their lifestyle. Sometimes you pay homage to how you live your life in honor. You always have them on mind. You're saying, and where you at and the way you do They had, a lot of times in the ancient world, they didn't have the words we had. They didn't have the language that we had. They didn't have words for the stuff, And not to, I know people get their money off of it, but battle rap wouldn't exist at the time of the ancient. It's not as articulate as the way the ancients. It was on a higher vibration. They only spoke destruction that they had. If you were actual enemy, if you were actual problem, not a competition, then they would speak something on, and it would actually come to truth, come to manifest. And read the book of Daniel when Nebuchadnezzar, when they spoke that on when it was spoken on Nebuchadnezzar, and he turned into a beast. You know what I'm saying? Stuff is real. When you're on a high vibration, your words can manifest quicker. So the ancients were careful with what they said. Well, not today. You know what I'm saying? Not like the battle rappers. You be like, what you say about his mama and his firstborn? Like, good Lord. You know what I mean? So, going to 43. At what age did Jesus begin to teach? At the age of 12. Where did he teach? India, Africa, and Europe. How long did he teach? 18 years. What did Jesus say that would make you free? Truth. What is truth? Truth is all. What is all? All is a law. Can truth change? Truth cannot change or pass away. What other names begins truth? Holy breath. What have you to say about the holy breath? All we can say is it's great, it's good, it was, it is, and evermore to be. Amen. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed? In the Garden of Eden. Hopefully, inshallah, that will be the name of the store that me and Brother Solo will manifest when we get a chance. Inshallah. But the Garden of Eden, first when the physical man was formed. Remember that. Physical man was formed. Right? Man always exists. When his physical form, when he came into the physical part, when the physical part of man was that physical part. Because you got three parts. You have your flesh, then you have the soul, and then you have the spirit, which is one with Allah. All right? Go back, reference chapter 1 of your KORAN. Where's the Garden of Eden? In the land of Canaan, in the city of Mecca. What is the minor name of the Garden of Mecca? We're going to stop right there. And then we'll go into the other ones next week. Or if I'm not, next week, if we don't, we'll meet here. We'll have meeting Sunday school next week. If everything's cool with the event, or if the event doesn't go down on the 19th. If the event doesn't go down on the 19th, we'll meet here for another Sunday school lesson. I'll just let y'all know whether I postpone it or not because of the event. But if the event, you know what I'm saying, if the event goes down, I'll let y'all know. If everything's a go for the event, I'll just let you know that we'll just have to postpone Sunday school. And then soon, at the end of this month, Supreme Grand Chief Keith Anderson will be demonstrating for the national call. So you guys definitely want to tune into that. I'm about to ask him to make a flyer. If I can make a flyer, we can make a flyer for it. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to start making flyers for it. The national calls. Just have it available for people. A lot of people don't really get it out there. So I see the ink doing there. Everybody else be having their little, their little flyers or their little event on the internet. So we need to start doing ours. But I'm gonna do it like, cause I know when we have these, cause I still plan on doing it. I gotta get with H. Smith Bay. We still plan on having our event, internet lecture dealing with Fatima. Fatima Jid and Fatwa on Prophet Number 11, breaking it down and stuff. And the stuff I built, today, regarding that will be basically deeply expounded upon.
Islam.
Yeah. So I gotta find. We just gotta organize and see what we're gonna do. Yeah, Islam, brother.
Is that something that's like open to the public, like that's public knowledge, or that's just letters that you have?
Oh, what you talking when we do the event, Brother Smith Bay, or?
No, I can't determine the word that you're using when you said the Fatty Majid.
Fatty Majid is the guy, the fatwa against. I got it on file, so if you want it, I can give it to you. If you want it. It's pretty heavy.
Okay, mashallah.
Yeah, it's a fatwa is when it's an order. It's like a creed or a decree that's coming down from an Islamic authority. And usually when a fatwa is issued, like there's a fatwa on vaccination by religious scholars and authorities. And that's been issued for America. Yeah. It's weak. Sorry, I'm gonna say that. I don't mean say it like that, but it's weak basically because it'll say no. It's saying it's okay to take the Moderna. And
right. I was really surprised by that when I found that out.
Yeah, man. Because we had a long discussion about it. And we was like, man, look, we're our own society within, within this country. We can issue the fact we are not necessarily bound by the Islamic scholars and stuff like that. We can issue our own fatwa. Even though we reference, many of Islam, but if it doesn't add up to what we see as, what I'm saying, the way the Prophet Muhammad and the Quran has issued it, and because to be honest, and I'm not talking bad, but even what I'm saying is not even it's not even coined from me or the Moorish Scientific America. What I'm saying is also said by many Islamic scholars and Islamic minds of these days, like Imran Hussein and others. You know what I'm saying? They'll tell you straight up, like the Islamic world is compromised. It's been compromised. I'm not going. Because I'm saying that, I'm not saying it on the behalf of or trying to defend this. More Science Simple America, the Islamic, or the Islamic world or the greater Ummah. I'm not trying to, downplay, anything so it justifies Islam. I'm saying what the other Muslim brothers and sisters are saying about Islam and the Islamic scholarship and the Islamic authorities. They'll tell you that it's compromised. You know what I'm saying? That they, different authorities have set up their own scholars to justify stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's a game. It's a game. Like, like any, that's why some Muslims, man, they go, they just, they go to Mecca, they just do their pilgrimage, man, and come home. They don't get involved in all that other stuff. They don't get, you know what I'm saying? Like people, that's why certain society, Muslim bodies, they got their own scholars and stuff like that. Some of them are doing it so to protect themselves from the corrupted or compromised scholarships and authorities. We try to, we got our own, we don't have our own yet. I'm sorry. We're trying to establish our own, I know I'm trying to establish a panel or a cabinet under my position that will break down a lot of the stuff, regarding this type of subject. I believe Brother Abdullah Ibrahim Bey, I'm pull him on it since he's pretty, has a good keen insight on Islamic law and Sharia law and Sunnah, so he can definitely expound on a lot of stuff that is in relation, to Islam and the outer, or the greater ummah, so the greater ummah. So he knows a lot about that, information. Where I'm weak, areas I know I'm weak in. I know some stuff, but I know Brother Abdullah is more proficient in it. And then, we got some other stuff we're looking at, that connect everything to what the Prophet said. So it's all, we need our own scholars, so we won't trip up and get distorted. Because especially if you read that fact, you probably look at the temple like, oh, like what? Because the fact was saying like, hey, it's illegitimate, it's a lie, it's fake, he's a charlatan, he's this, you know what I'm saying? That's what started with. So, and then this is one common sense that Abe Smith Bay said, and we built upon, and we came to this common sense matter. Where it's like, on a level of common sense, if the Prophet Noble Drew Ali wasn't a Muslim and he had no connection to Islam, why are you putting out a fatwa? A fatwa is for the Islamic body. You can't stop him from in America from propagating what he wants to propagate. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be fake Islam or whatever. You can't do that. So why are you putting a fatwa on? On someone who you wouldn't consider Muslim to begin with. You put a fatwa out for the believers, not to follow, be with, or in the presence of, hang around Noble Drew Ali or any one of his followers. That's how that fatwa would go. You can't put a fatwa out on someone who's not a Muslim if you don't consider him a Muslim. So it's something that he did at first establishes the point where he's considered a Muslim. Because you went to the trouble to get one for him. So that's one point established. And then the other intricacies that, that comes follow also considered. 511. Okay. We can go into the readings. Brother, yeah, I gotta holler at him. I'm gonna call him after this call. Other readings before we close. Prophet warns all Muslims to be ready at every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. If for peace and not destruction, stop flashing your cards for your opinion. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive a reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. And if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drive. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out the divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet for the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drive. To be proclaimed in every meeting, Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and the uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance. I need it bad. Never before have I needed finance so bad as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet of the Allah. To the members of the Moorish Simple America to be read Islam. This is the instructions from your prophet Noble Drive. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the field. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet. I know what you are. This is why hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear. Least they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now to the Moors, so every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and the prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. The ones that speak against your divine national principles are your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drive. Okay, I'll move the clothes. Fingers on the right, power left.